Hey, what's going on, guys? It's been Adam156 here with another video. Remember to subscribe, like, comment, do all that stuff. I do read all comments and make sure to leave one. And in this video, I want to talk about Hassan Piker and the backlash that he has received throughout his success on Twitch. So if you don't know, recently, like a couple months ago, Hassan Piker bought a very expensive house in West Hollywood. And a lot of people criticized him for it, saying, "Oh, when you're a socialist, you can't have house, you can't have nice things. You need to give your money to this." And just to clear things up, if you don't know who Hassan Piker is a very wealthy streamer on Twitch, and he's one of the largest streamers on the platform. So, yeah, just thought I would mention that. So he was receiving all this backlash, and then what he made got revealed several times, and it wasn't even a secret to begin with because his sub count was always visible on his stream. But when it got revealed, he did receive substantial backlash for how much money he made, and a lot of people were criticizing him for making a lot of money and giving very little in political activism and to charities and stuff like that. Now, first of all, he did do a significant amount of canvassing in Georgia and did give substantial money to the campaigns of Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff in the Georgia special election last January. So he does do political activism. He just doesn't do as much as he probably should. But it doesn't matter what he should do, because if you look at this through a utilitarian perspective, he's the largest political streamer in the English-speaking world, and he is a socialist. Imagine what that does for the socialist movement. That creates immeasurable good for the socialist movement. So I don't think it personally matters what he does with his money or not, because he is doing so much good just by being there that it doesn't matter, because he is creating a net positive for the movement and for the world in general. Next, I want to talk about how people, especially social democrats, hold socialists to different standards than they would other people. I'm not going to name names because it is a pretty widespread movement, but the argument is essentially, I'm going to hold socialists to a higher standard of giving money away because they are not ignorant of the working class's struggles or something like that. That is a very common argument that they present, and the thing that I have to say is, why aren't you mad at Ben Shapiro for giving money to his political activism? Why aren't you mad at conservative YouTubers for not giving their money to conservative activism or to conservative political things? You're not mad at them. You don't hold them to the same standards. You don't hold liberal streamers and YouTubers to the same standard. You don't hold social democrat YouTubers and streamers to the same standard. They may say that they do, but then their whole video catalog is just trashing on Hassan for doing what he does. So that is my contention, because it is not about what Hassan does, it's about bringing socialism down. And a lot of social democrats are guilty of this, a lot of liberals are guilty of this. People who socialists are on the side of, for now at least, until there's that turning point. But then they do that. They're logically inconsistent with how they set standards, because they don't criticize any other large streamers who aren't socialists for this. They just criticize Hassan because he's a socialist. And they want to create, this goes back very far historically to social democrats tending to throw socialists under the bus in different places when they were united until there was the fork in the road, essentially. Now, this essentially boils down to, socialism is a threat to capitalism, and in order to preserve capitalism, you can't have socialism come about, essentially. And that means that you need to create the worst image possible for socialism. So when you have a successful socialist political commentator like Hassan Piker is, and he buys a very expensive house and makes a lot of money, you have to say socialism is when no house. You have to essentially say that, and that you need to give a substantial amount of your money to political activism, and you cannot give it away or whatever, or you have to give away all your money and live a life of poverty, which is not true. As long as you're doing a net good for the movement, and as long as you're promoting socialism, I don't care. Because you're doing good for the political activism, and you are doing good just by being a socialist. So I don't care what you do. As long as you do a net good in a utilitarian sense, I really don't care, and neither should they. They're only concerned with with getting rid of socialism and making socialism less and less popular and more irrelevant. That is what they're concerned with, not actually with the movement or with anything like that. They are just concerned with bringing socialism down. And Hassan Piker is an easy target because of how much money he makes and the easy thing about that. Now, for the next part of the video, I want to talk about Ben Shapiro's very late response to Hassan Piker buying a house. And I know my response is late too, but whatever. So, Ben Shapiro essentially said, well, he's just being a capitalist. He's just, making his own way and receiving the fruits of his own labor. And I've heard a lot of other conservatives say this exact same argument. Like, oh, Hassan Piker is just being a capitalist. He's just receiving the fruits of his labor, and good for him. He's making a living. And that is wrong, because capitalism isn't about receiving the fruits of your labor. Capitalism is about exploiting the working class. Have you noticed how workers are very underpaid in the U.S.? How the average wage here is the minimum wage is a poverty wage here? They're not getting paid what they're worth. They're not seeing the fruits of their labor. They're being exploited by the bourgeois. If anything, receiving the fruits of your labor is the most socialist idea possible. That's essentially the idea of socialism, is receiving the fruits of your labor and owning your own job, owning the means of production. That is the core tenet of socialism. And you have conservatives over here pretending like it's capitalism and making bad arguments, and people believe them because of how they talk really fast, or they sound smart, like in Ben Shapiro's case, or just because they've built up an audience, and their audience trusts them. So yeah, I just wanted to address the conservative argument as well. And one other thing is irrelevant. One of your latest videos is a YouTube short of you laughing at Hassan Piker for saying, "Oh, he's just making the sweat of his brow," and laughing at him for saying that. And I go, and that is I don't understand. You're a social democrat. You are on our side until the fork in the road, of course, down the road, and we most likely will never get there in our lifetime. So you're on our side. You want better benefits for workers. You want social safety nets. You want healthcare for all. So why are you bringing down the largest political commentator in the English-speaking world, who is essentially on your side for now? I don't get it. And the thing that you were laughing at him for was a completely fine thing to say, and was completely right. He said, "I'm just making the sweat of my brow," or whatever. It's a quote from a video game. And that's exactly what he's doing. He streams for 12 hours a day, and he, to my knowledge, exploits very little people, almost as little as you can, because he's a content creator on YouTube. He does most of the work. He does most, if not all. I'm not entirely sure what his editor situation is for uploading on YouTube and stuff like that. But I know that he does the majority of the work because he's a content creator on YouTube. Or a content creator on YouTube and Twitch. So he is making the sweat of his brow, and that's one of the most socialist ideas possible, is actually getting your fair share and making what your labor entitles you to, and receiving the fruits of your labor. So I don't understand the point of that, and it is a bad argument, or irrelevant. And your debate with Vosh was just showed your logical inconsistencies. So I know I said I wasn't going to call anyone out at the beginning, but I had to, because your arguments are terrible. And yeah, so yeah, that's the video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. This is a really fun video to make, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember, subscribe, like, comment, do all that stuff. I do read all comments, so make sure to leave one. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next week. So